Now once all your corners are in place and all your pale green block stitch borders are done, we're moving on to do the final part of the blanket, and that's the final border and the outside edge. So we're nearly there. I decided that this needed a nice deep colour to give it an edging, and I've tried one or two different things. I've tried treble clusters, and I've also tried treble stitch, individual treble stitches, but I have finally landed on just doing a simple double crochet stitch, single crochet if you're in the US, but a double crochet stitch into the top of every stitch all the way around. And the reason I chose that was because I felt it gave me the neatest, what would you say, where the join is between the square and the pale green, it gives you the neatest kind of jump between the two. So this is going to be a narrow border all the way round in the deep purple, and I've actually started it because I wanted to do a side just to see what it looked like. And to start it, I'm going to go right back to the beginning of my round, and I started it in the corner, of course, with a chain 1 and then a DC 1 in the corner. I had turned the blanket so it's wrong side uppermost because I just wanted to kind of even out any chance of it beginning to go a little bit off the straight and narrow. So by turning the blanket over, it helps to balance it. So I'm working the DC stitches on the reverse side, and I've worked around all of the first side. So I've got to the end at this point. So I stopped at that point when I felt that I was happy with the DC as the choice of stitch. I'm not going to pull it back and start it again just to show you how to do it. I'm just going to continue along here. So what I stopped at was the first 2 DC in my corner and then chain 2, and then I've got 2 DC to put in. So it's just 2 DC, not 3 in the corner with the chain 2. It just makes a nice tidy little corner. Now that my round of double crochet in the deep mauve is finished on all 4 sides, I've turned the blanket again so it's on its front, and I'm going to do a few rounds just to create the final border. I'm doing a few rounds of treble clusters, and I'm working with the Parma Violet for the first round. You'll notice that the little corner squares are a little bit bumpy, but I am pretty sure that once we start adding the rows of treble clusters, this will straighten out. So just wait and see. I'm going into the corner as usual and attaching my yarn. Now I have deliberately not done a stitch count for the double crochet stitches in the mauve, and that's because you may so my double crochet round in the dark mauve is complete on all 4 sides, and I'm happy with the way it's looking. I haven't done a stitch count deliberately for this round because I have a feeling that there may be a slight difference in your stitches with my stitches. That's because some of you might add an extra stitch in this part here. That's not a problem with what we're going to be doing next, and that's why I haven't counted it. I'll leave it to you. If you have done an extra stitch in there, then your count will differ by maybe 2 from mine because there's this join at the other end of the row, or you might be exactly the same as me. But what we're going to be doing now doesn't really depend on this being an accurate number of stitches. So what we're going to do is just a very simple few rounds of treble clusters, granny stitch. And the first round I'm using this nice grey lilac colour, and I've attached my yarn in the corner. You'll also notice, and I'm pretty sure yours will be the same, that you might have a bit of a bump on the edges of your little squares, but I'm almost 100% sure that that will straighten out when you're adding the rows of treble clusters, so don't worry about that. Let's just see what happens when I've done all 4 sides of this round. So I'm going to chain 2, and that's the equivalent of my first treble crochet stitch, and then 2 more in that corner space. And that is the first half of my corner done. So that's the chain 2 and treble 2. And to make the next treble cluster, just miss the 2 stitches that come next and into the 3rd stitch along. So you're going into the top of the double crochet stitch, put in 3 trebles into that stitch. 1, 2, 3. And there you can see the clusters beginning to form. And then I'm going to miss 2 and into the 3rd stitch along and put in 3 trebles. Again, this is double crochet if you're in the US. Miss 2 stitches and in the 3rd stitch along 3 trebles. And that's what it looks like. Now I'm going to work all the way along, and when I come to the end of this side, I'll be back to show you what it looks like. I've come to the end of my first side, and my clusters, treble clusters, fitted neatly into the side. I'm quite happy about that. Yours should do too, but don't worry if your stitch count is very slightly different to mine in the mauve round. You can just compensate by either skipping over an extra stitch or skipping over just the 1 stitch. It's not going to make any difference to the look of the blanket. Mine fit in exactly, and let's hope that yours do as well. So I've done my 3 trebles, chain 2 and 3 trebles to go into this corner, and then I'll continue round all 4 sides, and I'll see you when I'm ready to start the next round. Okay, last time I was here, I was doing the this round of the grey lilac, the Parma violet, and I did say I would see you when I got to the end of it, but I just kept going, because I did think it wasn't really necessary to keep showing you the videos of these rounds. So I'll just go over them very quickly. They're all the same basically, with 1 slight difference, and this takes us up, gives us a little border and takes us up to the final edge, which I will be showing you. Right, so when you last saw me, we were doing the Parma violet. And then I chose to do this deep pink, and I turned the blanket over. So the blanket is now sitting on its front, but this particular round was worked on the reverse. And as you can see, it's a good bit smaller than the ones round about it. And that's because I decided to make it in the double crochet as opposed to treble crochet, single crochet if you're in the US. And the reason I decided to do that was because there hasn't been a lot of this dark pink throughout the blanket. There's just been a kind of accent colour here and there. So I didn't want to have too big a round of this. I wanted it quite small, which is why it's done in the small stitch. There is a single chain stitch between each cluster, which I don't normally do, of course, when I'm doing the treble clusters, but I did feel that for, like we did earlier on, for the double crochet round, they are just a bit too small, these stitches, to travel from one space to the next, so I give it a helping hand with a single chain stitch, but that doesn't make any difference to the pattern. The next round, turning it over again, was the khaki green colour, and that's back to the treble crochet. And then I turned it once more, so this round is on its reverse, and of course, as you can see, it's the variegated Pebble Haze prints, and if you see the whole blanket out, it does look really pretty, because I look at this, it goes down through the pinky purples, and then down here we've got the lilac-y blues, so that's really nice. I thought it was time to bring in the cream again, so I turned it, and again we're on the front of the blanket for this, and this is another round of treble clusters in the cream. Each time I start a round, it's chain 2 and treble 2, and then straight along, so there was no reason to show you the video tutorials for these. So we have got 2 rounds left to do. We've got one more round and then the edging, and I'm keeping this for the edging. It could be that I could do 2 rounds with this, but it's debatable, and I don't particularly want to do 1 round and then find myself without enough to do the edging, because I really want to do the edging in this. So I've decided to bring in the pale lilac for my second last round. And once more, I'm going to turn the blanket. Please ignore the ends that you'll see, because they do mount up. These are just two, actually not that many, there's just 3 there. And this is the reverse side of the blanket. Just double check that your joining stitches are on the reverse. Yeah, this is the reverse of the blanket. And I'm going to use this colour. I do have a reasonable amount of this left, so we can safely use this for this round. And I'm going to attach my yarn in the corner as usual. I have decided to make another round, not of clusters, but of stitches, individual stitches. That sounded funny, individual stitches. I think I'm actually designing this as we're talking, so I think I'm going to make it trebles. So again, I've chained 2, and I'm going to put 1 treble crochet stitch there, just the one, because I'm not doing clusters this time. I'm going to yarn over and go into my very next stitch and make a treble crochet stitch, yarn over into the top of the next stitch and a treble crochet, and so on. And that is going to be my almost border edging. So I will work around all 4 sides of that, and this time I will come back because I'll be showing you how to do the edging itself. When you get to the end of the side, the corner that comes up, it will be treble 2, chain 2, treble 2. And that, the reason I'm taking it down a stitch for the corner, so it's not treble 3, is because it's not a cluster. So it's 2 trebles, chain 2 and 2 trebles in each of the corners. So I'll see you when I've done all of that and I'm back to where I started.